Jim. How you doing, Matt? It's been a while.
What, since this morning?
Since the last little show we did, it was on last Tuesday because everyone was at an offsite on Thursday, which was obviously nice. But I'll let Bunzi join in. I think he's here. Look, this is Bitcoin Builders here with Bunzi, here with Arch Network, talking all things Bitcoin. I'm also joined by Marvin from Maestro. And I think the talk of today's CT, at least Ordinal's Twitter, Bitcoin Twitter, whatever you want to call it, has really been around like the Saturn AMM launch on testnet. So a handful of people have been playing around with it for the last little while, but I think everyone is shocked that it works. So everyone's just thinking, okay, like what implications do you have here on my bags? And we were discussing about this yesterday a little bit, Matt. I got dragged into the XRP trenches from, I guess, like my first intern that goes by Fresh, unofficial intern. He was deep in the trenches, but yeah, XRP has this like token launchpad AMM thing that they got going on, and for the last 40 days, people have been going crazy. So I flipped it over to you, Matt, because I think we're probably going to have a shift in how some of these runes tokens are deployed and launched if we can just do it in a similar way with Arch. Right? Don't you agree with me there?
Yeah, 100%. We can do a lot of the same and similar things, albeit I'll grant you I wasn't degenning in the Ripple ecosystem like you were the past few days. Actually, I was
I own nothing,
so
but I was cautiously
just
exploring.
doing some market research. I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Because actually my brother-in-law texted me, hey, my friends are talking about Ripple. Is it a good thing to buy? And I just texted him, man, I really wish you didn't text me that just now. Because as far as I was concerned, I thought Ripple was just dead to everybody that wasn't still in the cult, still drinking the Kool-Aid. But I don't know. Someone here, maybe Bunzy's usually quick to the punch on these things. Is there something to share that's happening in the Ripple ecosystem?
Bro, that's like the most boomer ass shit ever. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah,
Or do
yeah,
I
you're
sound?
good now. You're good now. No, Bunzi, you say it's boomer, but there's
I
a bunch of
know.
meme coin degens that are there's this like token called Drop, and it's got 25 mil market cap. And there's like a bunch of other tokens, and it's crazy because a lot of these tokens are getting away with 30% dev pre-mines, and we're probably going to see we're probably going to get to see 2%, 7%, 10%, 30% pre-mine type situations on Bitcoin if we actually have this happening. But just an interesting kind of environment because it goes to show you that there's degens on every chain. And look, I was like exploring the Cardano meme coin ecosystem too because they have a meme coin, I think that's 400 or 500 mil market cap right now. And we're weak, boys. Bitcoin as an ecosystem, we got some weak ass meme coin apes here because I don't know what's going on. I guess people just generally believe that Bitcoin is just ordinals and this half-assed way of trading. And I think the bullish news of Arch and Saturn on testnet actually working changes the perspective on like, oh damn, I guess Bitcoin could have an ecosystem. I guess Bitcoin will have an AMM. I guess Bitcoin will have an Aave platform. I guess Bitcoin eventually will have stables. And I think that allows people to take Bitcoin more seriously. I know it's shocking that people aren't taking the Bitcoin ecosystem seriously as it is built on Bitcoin. But yeah, swag. What's up?
Nah.
It is our system of trading is very risky for someone who's going to who's going to put a significant amount of capital to the work because the floor in the market can be manipulated by very few individuals, and that's very difficult to do in an AMM structure trading mechanism. And so, if you think about the buy sell rates of runes, I can almost guarantee you we've had way more buyers than sellers since launch, but the prices haven't shown that to the degree it would if you had simple mechanics of an AMM. So I think that's the big issue that's been at fault here is like last night somebody listed a zero point 0.8 Bitcoin block on Billy Floor. If
You're right.
and
You're
it's
right.
like how one person can basically stall it out and then people list below it. And again, The individuals are choosing the market price, not the market, and it's the opposite everywhere else. The
The
market decides the price.
You bring a really good point up because I struggled with this as well originally. You look at how much X amount can move the floor price, and you do it in like a classic liquidity pool with something like a percent and a half to 3% of the total token supply in liquidity as like the depth. And you do the same for these fungibles on Magic Eden with these like basically block trades that are happening, and one Bitcoin can move the price like 2% on something like Billy, Dog, Pups. But you put that through an AMM, as everyone usually uses on any other chains, and you're slipping the book by at least 10%. Like at least at these market caps, at least 10%. And
Absolutely.
so by design, like we're trading things basically that are designed almost against all sorts of like pumpnomics. We should be at market caps at these holder counts. Like Pup says around 20K holders. Dog has an airdrop, and I think it still has 80,000 holders, but I mean, at those levels, you should be at multi-billion-dollar market caps. Like it's typically how it shakes out from like the AMM model.
And the classic thing, a lot of people are in and out of Solana shitters as well. And people understand you're going to get something that launches. And right off a launch, you can see those initial candles going up tens of millions of dollars. Tens of millions of dollars didn't flow in, but as a result of the buy sell ratio and the liquidity pool, the prices exponentially increase. And so people need to remember it's not how much money flows in generates the price, it's the supply demand. And the market is adjusting to reflect equal supply demand. And so as a result, they have to raise the price, and they basically keep raising the price until the supply demand is met again. And that's where our structure is heavily manipulated by the way that we trade them. And again, a lot of us are still ultra bullish, as I am, runes in this ecosystem. But remember, we built the casino before anything was available. Then you have to build it, get the chairs and get the games and all that stuff in. And now we built runes here in April. And now the market's reflecting this new fungible asset on Bitcoin. It takes time. Trading ordinals off the bat, it took a year really to get things where we had wallet infrastructure, we had Magic Eden, we had all of these people that were building stuff out. And we thought day one runes, no one even saw it yet, and they thought that we're going to be trading these things like shitters on Solana, when in fact we're probably 6 months away from truly market supply demand mechanics. I think we're getting closer with what was just launched with Saturn and Arch today. I tried that this morning; it was pretty awesome. And so I think as we continue to develop that type of stuff, have people continue to use it, give feedback, I think it's going to be one of those things that's going to bring us more in line with other ecosystems.
100% agree. And I think this shift in what is available from infrastructure and tooling will actually bring new mechanics for token launches. I think I resonate a lot of the views that Udi actually has is this is not a very capital efficient way to be minting tokens. In fact, like burning your sats to go to the miners when you can basically create liquidity pools that are going to be used for further distribution for the broader good of the project. To me, that just makes a little bit more sense. Yes, I commend all of the projects that have done it from a fair launch perspective. I think it was a great start, but I think down the line, we're probably unlikely to have, or at least maybe there's going to be a smaller subset of fair launch tokens, simply because people are just going to get a little bit more addicted in launching tokens like in a more pump fun way. Looking back, like the history of meme coins originally were an Ethereum thing. People launched shitters all the time, and they would seed the liquidity pools with $1,000 or $5,000 worth of Ethereum. They would try and get the contract very quickly and then self snipe the token supply to basically have the dev supply. That's how it was done in the past. And this kind of led to very nefarious activities. You had MEV, you had insiders, you had this constant model of people losing in those environments. and devs just rugging nonstop over and again. Pump Fund, it's not necessarily a revolutionary idea, but it just changed the initial distribution model to make it more democratic. And I think that's obviously very favorable. I think Bitcoin takes it maybe a little bit too far in terms of how distribution or how democratic it should be, how accessible it should be, to the point where there is no more there is just not a pump afterwards. The dopamine spike is very short lived oftentimes. And we've gotten accustomed to basically saying, hey, like I'm gonna mint this and then I'm gonna flip it for 10% or 20%. Like that's not really like what people are doing meme coins for. They're doing it for the screenshots and the glory. And the only way that you do that is blending the two worlds together. So obviously very excited for Saturn launching an AMM. I think there's gonna be some sort of launch pad for runes that plays into that with allowing you to pre-seed the set base liquidity and pre-mine a set amount of tokens for teams. I'm actually not really like against pre-mines. I think in the right hands, I view the meme coin world. You can run a meme coin as a business model. Bonk proves this out very much. There's a handful of others that do it very well. You want to be giving those tools to people that are actually just going to be launching these meme coins as a business model. And look, it's gonna breed a lot of like scams, drugs. This is the risk curve that most people are playing, and most people on Pump Fund lose money. Hey, like
You could build a mechanic to where you etch a rune 100% pre-mined, or if it can be built from day one via Arch infrastructure, and via the smart contract, you can make it unruggable in a sense, and you can also basically, if someone mints and doesn't get it, they're not going to lose their money. And you think about how much money has been to the miners since day one of runes, and people got zero back. There's a lot, especially those early blocks when people didn't realize that was a possibility. People were putting 3,000 sats for VByte, and they're getting front run left and right. And they're out hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in fees that just went to miners and they got nothing in return. And when we're trying to develop an infrastructure and an ecosystem that makes people excited, and you just lost $1,000 basically quicker than anything, that's not a good way to get people into this environment. So I think
100%.
somehow trying to keep Bitcoin native. And I think the benefit that Bitcoin and Runes have over these other ecosystems is the communities around Runes are much stronger, in my opinion, than these other ecosystems are. And so I think because it's slower, you have a tendency to have more people that have a bag bias holding for long term, and they're not just flipping in and out every day and finding a new one the next day. So I think that's very unique. But I think there's a lot of things that could be done to improve it, and we're getting to the point where now some of that can be implemented.
Yeah, agreed. By the way, speed, I think that's like a new PFP, but what is it? Curious.
That's Tom's new collection. He just launched 111 101s of these different rats he's been working on a couple years. This is his first collection, I think, of three. And so he sold, I think, 100 or so HEC. He's got a couple auctions coming up for a few, and then I think he's going to keep a few for treasuries. And sounds like he has two more collections in the works, and those two are going to be just black and white, but he hasn't really given any more info on that. But had to rep a new PFP for ordinals. I think ordinals are dead; they feel dead, but it doesn't mean they'll be dead all the time. So
Yeah, 100%. I think the long story short is if we use those stats directly in purchases, we'll finally have the floor prices and number go up mechanics that are more favorable to the ecosystem and why a lot of people are really here, right? Yeah. And to get like the counter argument is it's not like the miners are making a huge amount of money. Their businesses are basically dying. As Charlie came on the show and he mentioned it, they had the halvening and that ruined profitability. And there's two stat V byte fees 24/7. This is not look. It's not great that they're getting our stats, but at the end of the day, they're not doing so great either. I don't necessarily feel like we're getting absolutely rugged. In fact, they're probably just rugging themselves. Yeah, Swag. I know I cut you off there, but what's up, man? It's been.
Cut me off. What did I say?
I don't know.
I'm literally
I
laying
was
on my
letting you
back
speak.
drawing on my iPad.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, you cut me off. What the fuck?
I'll let you speak now. I'll let you speak now,
Oh,
sir.
hello. I wasn't planning to speak. I just wanted to say hello to the boys, hello to the girls. Hello to the aliens and extraterrestrials. I love you. World peace.
Love you too, Spec. Marvin, to my knowledge, you guys are basically a large kind of behind the scenes player to like how this Saturn piece actually has worked. So I wanted to maybe like just open the floor to you because I think you posted a tweet out saying that you guys have mempool APIs and that's going to be the bread and butter and the pillar of all Bitcoin activity. And what Saturn has enabled basically is interblock trading. And yeah, just wanted to open the mic for you to see how things are going and if you guys are working on a couple other things or if you guys are happy with the way things are going right now. I'm sure there's bugs being fixed 24/7 as there is with any sort of testnet. But yeah, what's up?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think the real innovators is Arch introducing contract functionality and Saturn they were the first one to leverage that. We're in the back running infrastructure and making sure everything runs smoothly and scales well and it's reliable, right? So it's a core piece of the puzzle, but it's really just an enabler of projects like Arch really innovating and adding these new functionalities. And now there's so many new applications that people can build leveraging this contract paradigm, right? It opens up a lot of different things. And so for us, it's like, how do we create a developer environment that is welcoming so that more people can build fast and quickly? And we're not spending like 6 months building an app, waiting for people to launch on mainnet, but get to a point where in 2-3 months, a new team can come in, use platforms like Arch, use platforms like Maestro for their APIs, and then get an application live and running and iterate from there. So we're highly focused on what developers need today, right? What are the bottom, how we can streamline development, what can we abstract to our platform so that they don't have to reinvent the wheel over and over again, right? Very often, a lot of teams that we talk to are rebuilding things that other teams have built and that we've built as well. And say, hey, like you could have saved, 4 weeks of not building this and just use our APIs. So we're very in tune with developers. We speak with a lot of them. And yeah, we noticed that like mempool data is really important. And I think SatFlow had this term like mempool first application or creating a mempool aware application, I think is really important because so much action is happening in the mempool. And if you want to create a good user experience for your application, I think it's a must that anyone building on Bitcoin need to integrate some kind of mempool tracking for your users so that people know what's going on. And so then, so Saturn used our mempool endpoints to be able to do this multiple transactions per block and have the UTXOs from the unconfirmed transactions and then leverage Arch contracts to have that MEMM architecture. And so we also offer Arch APIs. So we're running Arch infrastructure, Arch nodes. We pass that to our indexers. And so we provide like really easy to use Arch APIs whenever you need to get the state of Arch in real time and able to build and interact with those smart contracts. And these will scale elastically to millions of users. So I think with these two things, so our Arch APIs and mempool data, I think that really enabled Saturn to get that user experience. But at the end of the day, we're just tool builders. We're in the background. We're just happy to help these projects. And the goal is to onboard more people. And we're already working with like dozens of teams that want to follow the footsteps of Saturn and start building on this new paradigm. And so, the quicker we can get to that flywheel effect, people can iterate, get apps in the hands of users, get that feedback. And that's how we're going to be competitive and build like a really fun DeFi ecosystem that feels like, it feels like all the other, have the user experience that people are used to on other chains.
So you brought up a really good point earlier in what you said is it's about reducing the lead time and the development cycles, right? I think that's part of any successful ecosystem. If people can experiment in the span of 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks versus like the whole 6 month process. If you were around last year, we didn't necessarily have that many Bitcoin, even just relatively simple features to build in a very Bitcoin native way have historically taken months to implement. And now we have Arch as like a smart contract platform. We have Maestro as the data, Bitcoin data infrastructure, RPCs, APIs, and such. Do you think that we're entering this inflection point in the Bitcoin ecosystem to get, for the first time ever, an on-chain developer era in your view?
Yeah, I think we're getting there. We have all the pieces. The thing is, the maturation of the developer ecosystem always takes longer than we think. And it's been a year, people building on Bitcoin, and it was really hard back then. It's less hard now, and it's getting better. It's an ongoing process, but at some point, we're going to get that hockey stick growth. And you see how Ethereum grew. I think the Alchemy was actually a big reason why Ethereum had such huge this DeFi summer when these infra providers came in and really lowered the barrier to entry for developers and abstract away the infrastructure. Then now you have all these Lego pieces that people can play with, and then you can build this DeFi. And at the time, people also used the word money Legos, right? And people kept on leveraging the inventions of the previous generation and then used those Legos to build new application. And then you had this Cambrian explosion of DeFi, people coming up with all kinds of things. So I think we're not quite there yet to add that Cambrian explosion, but we're building the building blocks, we're building the Legos, and at some point we'll have a critical mass. Yeah, a lot of people want to build because we don't want to have just 10 good apps, right? We want 100 good apps.
100%.
And to get to 100 apps, you need more people, more of these tools to become like commoditized and just out of the box, ready to go.
I said it last year. I said Bitcoin DeFi summer is happening. Didn't
Yeah,
happen.
one thing that I'll
I
say
said,
about Maestro and Marvin's team is that Alchemy and Infura and a
Whoa,
lot of
whoa,
these
whoa! Sorry to
infrastructure
cut you
providers that
off.
he's talking
Yeah, we
hey,
about
can't really move past
that
that so
Matt,
were
quickly.
one of
Hold
the
I
on.
think
main
Matt can't hear
reasons
anybody.
why Ethereum DeFi scaled so quickly was. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I
Uh,
think you can't hear Farmer, but
Yeah, I
keep
can't.
going and then
Yeah,
to
Farmer,
do.
shut up. Shut up, Farmer. You talked enough.
Yeah, just wait till he's done, Farmer.
he says pups are not
Anyways,
coming to Arch, dude.
yeah, I got to give the flowers and the kudos to the Maestro team because the Inferas of the world, the Alchemies, who are largely responsible for that huge leg up in growth, that hockey stick growth and development, which really could be attributed to that infrastructure support to create the network effects that he's talking about, that composable money Legos. Like Infura and Alchemy, they have no interest in coming into the Bitcoin ecosystem. Why? Because they've been supporting Ethereum, so they're going to continue to support new networks that are EVM compatible, like Monad, Barachain, Sui, Sei, Mega ETH, etc. But like the Maestro team cut their teeth in the UTXO ecosystem with programmability and the Cardano ecosystem, and they're taking it upon themselves to bring that knowledge and that experience back so that we can create those network effects that we all desire in the Bitcoin ecosystem when everyone else that is reliable and trustworthy infrastructure providers and other programmable chains have no interest in doing it. So we're tremendously grateful for Maestro providing that service. And I think that they're doing a lot of goodwill in the space for us and just everybody, actually. Kudos to them for that.
100%. 100%. Agree. Bitcoin DeFi summer 2025. It's coming.
I think the biggest unlock of that is stable coins. And I think that's where Arch again can provide. And I know there's a lot in the works. And so I think the importance of DeFi and stable coins is immense. And I think it's one of those situations that it unlocks a whole new developing crew if you can incorporate stable coins into a growing environment.
Yeah, there's definitely a bunch of teams that are building stablecoins. There's actually going to be a pretty good spaces about it tomorrow by UTXO management and Isabel. We obviously had a handful of builders, and there's actually a handful of builders that had initially thought about building it on their own and now have actually decided to build with Arch in mind. I know Bima is one of them. I know Bound is another. Hermetica. There's also an RWA called Hamilton. And so it all seems like everyone was working on something, and then for the first time ever, Arch basically seems to provide them the comfort of basically building everything that they wanted to in a much more seamless way. So it'll be an exciting time to see what sort of stablecoins we have. Yield bearing ones should be interesting natively on chain. Obviously, leverage is a big factor and big driver of all these stablecoins. You can go leverage long directly on chain. Matt, I don't know if Ducat is building with Arch in mind or if they're just building their own infrastructure. Are you familiar with them?
Yeah, I'm familiar with Ducat team and Yala and a bunch of other ambitious teams that choose to build the consumer layer and the infrastructure layer at the same time. So I respect their tenacity and candor there. So good luck with that. But that's a completely different infrastructure, different validator network, etc.
Got it. Yeah, look, everyone's got the right to keep experimentation going, and if they are proven wrong, I'm sure they'll come back to what works. Hex, I know you've been waiting for a little bit, but I think we started off the show all really excited about Saturn and what Saturn can do. We got into the fact that launching tokens themselves might actually change. We're probably going to get some sort of like Telegram trading bots now that you have basically unlimited throughput or reasonably unlimited throughput in how many transactions can actually happen during the mempool. But yeah, sir, congrats on launching. Is this Saturn V3? I know you guys don't have a number for it anymore, but is
Yeah,
it kind of V3?
I didn't see why we couldn't coin it a V3 at this point.
Awesome. Yeah. So walk us through basically like how you got here. Because ultimately, I think that your original vision was like, look, we want to build AMMs, but we'll do it when it's possible. And now it's becoming much more possible. You're showing us that it's actually working on testnet. And so I guess are you guys relatively satisfied? Or right now it's all about testing edge cases, isn't it? Like canceling your orders and seeing how that impacts the actual chained orders thereafter, and if the slippage is accurately adjusting for some of those cancellations, or does it cancel everything? And I guess I'm just curious as to like how this will all work once we have so many moving UTXOs.
Yeah, sure. First of all, can you guys hear me okay? I am using a temperamental headset.
You're good?
Awesome. Yeah, so you obviously also a couple of things in there, but yeah, like how did we get here? So we first started cranking when we saw people trading rare sats in Discord. Obviously, it was a completely inefficient market. People were just guessing prices and trading and hoping people would send back rare sats, and it was just a nightmare. So we just found an opportunity to just create an order book on Bitcoin, and I think that really, yeah, dove us down this rabbit hole of what does a fungible economy on Bitcoin look like. This was before we're in this place now where fungibles on Bitcoin are probably the strongest narrative out there. And from there, yeah, we became hyper focused on trying to bring a user experience that's almost akin to other chains that you've seen, whether it be Ethereum, whether it be Solana. And we tried achieving that in a number of different ways. And obviously, with the V2 version, the way that we solved that was with a base layer multi-sig. So that allowed us to do a bunch of really interesting things that we thought would be important for users, like open orders, partially filled orders, having MEV protection. And it worked okay, but the biggest issue there was the fact that there was that trading wallet. You needed to deposit into this wallet and then trade in this environment and then withdraw out of that trading wallet. So you had two major points of friction there. One is almost that deposit flow is almost akin to bridging to an L2 anyway. And secondly, as a result of that friction point, you had this kind of siloed liquidity. So seeing Arch come across was obviously a game changer for us. And I heard you guys speaking about it briefly earlier, but I think the fact that this leverage assets that are already extremely highly valued and already seeing large amounts of volume, I think is a bit of a no-brainer for us. And now finally with smart contract execution, we can provide an experience that really is akin to Ethereum and Solana. And yeah, it's been a crazy day. I can't lie. I didn't expect the uptick to be as aggressive as it has been. This has been a dramatically larger stress test than we expected. And yeah, thankfully nothing broke. That said, that we will break things. This is the whole point of the testnet period. You are right there, Farmer. That we want to try every weird and wonderful way of breaking this thing before we get to mainnet. We do anticipate this being quite a largely used platform, so making sure it's safe and secure is absolutely paramount. But yeah, so far so good. We've got a couple of interesting bugs to work away at over the next day or so. I'm sure we'll find some more. And yeah, over the next 2 weeks, you've got two major surprises for everyone that I think is going to blindside a lot of people. So yeah, excited to put on some entertaining stuff for Bitcoin over the next few weeks.
Let's do it. Look, Saturn had on their V2, on your V2, like you guys had this amazing lead up. You guys are excellent marketers. You guys are great at drumming up attention. And it's good to see that, yeah, things didn't necessarily work out, but you go back to the drawing boards and you build something 10x better. And I think people are finally noticing that. And that's why you had a bunch of loyal fans, you had a bunch of people and eyeballs just waiting for the day. And I'm sure Matt suggesting that the testnet is incentivized in one way or another also doesn't hurt to have positive traction of people trying to break things and basically go through any sort of edge cases at a reasonable throughput. I think someone, or was it you that posted up that testnet block? I think it was like zero point 0.1 BTC of testnet BTC in fees, which is, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, Hex has a little bit of the data probably on hand better than me, but it looked like for a solid hour or so, every single block after the previous one had more transactions in it. And at one point, it was over 600 transactions in that block. So I think that really what we're trying to prove here is that speed of execution really does work at the base layer. Like you said, we do want to attempt to break the network. That's how we learn and battle test the network and Saturn's app for whenever we do launch mainnet. So while we are really excited about the user experience and how much better it is, we obviously want it to be completely safe for everyone's funds when we do launch this on mainnet. So there can be no mishaps or exploits. This is that time where we need to really battle test the network, and we need your help to do it. We're going to be talking about some major incentives via some type of pseudo trading competition. We're going to figure that out with the Saturn team and see what the best way to roll that out is, so that there actually can be some interest in trading these testnet tokens on a longer time horizon than just a couple days. Obviously, there's not a lot of interest. Everyone's got to go back to making money on the markets. We want to, respect people's time and make sure that there's an ample amount of incentive. So in addition to that, we'll be monitoring and tracking all of the on-chain activity, both Arch and Saturn, so that we can use that for consideration when it comes to airdrop season next year. In general, the more on-chain activity and more LPing you do, you're going to get more points. We'll announce a few more things about that. Nick's got a blog post that's going to drop, and a chain wire PR campaign and stuff that will be dropping in the next couple of days. So there'll be a lot of information about that here pretty soon. And then, of course, Saturn will have their own comms with regards to their airdropping potential opportunities. But yeah, that's what I could say there. Also, if you haven't gotten in there and done some swaps yet, we're doing a snapshot like in the first 24 hours to do a little bit of a bonus for the early participants who came in and tried it out. So if you haven't done that yet, make sure you do that and continue to do it throughout the testnet and mainnet, because you will be rewarded.
And I was in there actually this morning and gave it a try when it went live and was chatting with Hex a little bit about just a couple things, but I was pretty impressed for this being a test net. I did some liquidity pool stuff. I put some in, took it out. That stuff was very seamless. I did some swaps. It sounded like the only thing that I came across was it takes about 10 to 15 seconds to index. And so as a result, I would sell some and then I'd try to sell it again in 5 seconds. And it just showed the balance of zero for a period of time until it gets indexed. And then it said you had insufficient things. And then it came back in. It sounds like you guys are working on trying to tighten that up a little bit. But we're talking 10, 15 seconds. It's indexed, and I could make another trade instantaneously, both on the buy or the sell side.
As far as we're concerned, that is way too slow, and we are working with the Maestro guys at the moment. We will be able to bring that down considerably. And yeah, we want to make sure that mainnet environment is as crisp as we can physically get it. So yeah, still a lot of work to be done. Obviously, there are trade-offs for the testnet period, and again, you'll see that over the next few weeks. There's some pretty major deliverables from our end that we didn't manage to get out in this first iteration of testnet, and it's that decision tree of how far along do we need to be until we can present this to the public. So yeah, lots and lots of improvements to make.
One question I had, and again, this just comes back to a lot of the people in here who have ordinals and everything, and I give a bet you guys have dealt with this, but UTXO management when it comes to are people's ordinals safe if they're buying and selling in this environment, because ultimately runes are under those same UTXO umbrellas. But I think that's one question that'll probably come up is if they go and buy and sell in a wallet that has ordinals, are those going to get spent?
Yeah, this is quite funny actually. I can't even call it Saturn V1, more like Saturn 0.5, but the same bit of code we wrote all the way back then is still being used then. You simply cannot transact an ordinal through Saturn no matter which way you try to force it through. So you're at zero risk there.
Perfect. Thank you. But I think people should get in because I think it opens the eyes to what's going to happen here in the near future. And I think it brings a lot of optimism for people who've been in runes to have that environment. It feels like Jupiter, but has all that very much streamlined, very quick, efficient. And you wouldn't think it's Bitcoin based on what we're used to with these blocks.
I think that's one of the cooler things for me at the moment. I know obviously there's a bit of a meme narrative at the moment that runes are undervalued, but I do think that runes are undervalued. I think there is a real obvious product market fit here. There's a real obvious value driver here, but I think a lot of people have been off put by the current user experience. And again, I know user experience is almost a bit of a meme at this point, the amount we talk about it here, but I think when you're trying to convince a participant that's taking part in Solana at the moment, which is obviously going crazy on chain, and the few remaining people that are trying to trade on ETH, I think this now actually puts Bitcoin in a really competitive element. And I think the narrative now of Bitcoin becomes really difficult to fade. So I think there is going to be an aggressive repricing of most of this ecosystem now that we can provide a user experience that does feel relatively on par with what you could expect elsewhere.
It is very cool. Can you speak to maybe how someone would be able to provide liquidity? For example, on other chains, you have to do one block confirmation, or I guess you could do it in at the same time. But if I wanted to add liquidity to a pool, I can do it natively with just BTC on one side, and let's just say pups on the other side. And let's say there is volatility in that time frame. If I recall, like on other chains, there is like slippage on liquidity providing. So in the case of Bitcoin, I guess the slippage for a liquidity provider could be basically a little bit higher because that pool is constantly volatile within the 10 minutes for me to confirm. Is that right?
Yeah, for sure. There's obviously going to be a little bit more slippage on Bitcoin.
Got it. Cool. But you're able to do it in one block, right? Like I can add one BTC on one side and what is it like 100,000 pups or 200,000 pups or whatever the factor is on the other side. And as soon as the next block confirms there is no like next click approve and all that or what is like the flow of it? I haven't used it on that side of things just yet on testnet, but I'll do it in a few hours when I'm free.
So you could provide liquidity. I could make a swap using that liquidity, and then I could withdraw the liquidity before that block has even finished confirming.
Got it. Okay, interesting.
Because it's just sequencing the things within the block, correct? That's how you're doing. So that first one is acknowledged, the second one, and then the third one, and then whatever is left is sent through the
Exactly.
block. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think I really am having to bite my tongue here because there's another feature that we have coming up here. I know obviously we've got Rune to Bitcoin pairing, but yeah, it's a matter of time before we have Rune to other thing pairing. So things are going to get super fun here. I know we spoke a little bit earlier, Farmer, about like different ways that we can actually launch tokens here. And fortunately enough, a lot of really good experimentation has happened on Solana this cycle. Meteor has done a fantastic job, for example, burning liquidity into LPs to make sure that devs can't rug their tokens and things like that. So there's loads of really cool additional features that we can get here as well. So what we've presented here, although it does feel quite a jump, like there's still a long way that we can take this product.
Oh yeah, absolutely. When it comes down to locking the actual liquidity from some parties or burning that liquidity, I know there's so many ways that you can go about it to increase the level of trust that there is no like nefarious actor, so to speak. And I think before you joined, we were actually just talking about it that this basically just opens up a totally different dynamic of how we even launch tokens. So the miners are not going to be the ones that are going to be receiving every single last sat. When it comes down to it, there's going to be, basically people that deploy meme coins with a set liquidity pool and lock that liquidity pool or burn that liquidity pool. There's just so many ways to go about it, and I think this makes Bitcoin fun again in a lot of ways that runes and ordinals started to feel stale. And then once people obviously make number go up on their phone and number go up on sats because of that, because of the lower bleed out to the actual miners themselves, then I think we'll actually have a reasonable rotation into things like PFPs, Grail assets, Shrooms as one of the earliest collections, which I'm a massive bull on. And then the whole ecosystem really becomes uplifting because we got to stop the capital drain. We got to stop the sats drain somewhere. And this is really like the only ecosystem where we have just this perpetual sats drain as a
Well,
byproduct of how these tokens are launching.
I would say
Um,
the runes ecosystem sucked it, and we haven't been able to get out yet. You know, in a sense of some of these are literally locked runes. You spent money, and there's no trading, can't be moved, and so I think we basically now need that unlock to where the market can decide if these hold value or not, and I think they do. I think a lot of people think they do, but the mechanics haven't allowed that unlock yet. I think we're getting there with this product. And so I think that's what happened. Unfortunately, with Liquidium, what they built, which was a great thing, people over levered going into Rune's launch, thinking that we're going to have such seamless trading on day one, and then all of a sudden they were underwater and everything, and it just was a cascading liquidation event that resulted in things the way that they were. Sentiment goes down, people are less likely to speculate, and we end up in these predicaments. And just a natural trajectory of where things are, but I think there's a lot of promise in where things are going because I have the same sentiment you do, Farmer, is once we do see some of this unlock, this whole ecosystem is going to start booming again.
Yeah, if we just look at the chart of idle Bitcoin balances in wallets, it certainly hasn't been going anywhere but down. And that's really like a byproduct as like when we get hype in the ecosystem, that those stats tend to go into basically etching and minting new tokens over and over again until we run out of sats basically to deploy into other things, and then we have another like Ice Age era. So yeah, I think it's something like $75 million worth, or maybe $100 million worth of Bitcoin has been, I wouldn't say lost, but donated to the miners to bring these assets to life. Hex.
Yeah, really sorry. I got to run now because I'm super late to another call, but I didn't want to jump out abruptly. But yeah, appreciate you hosting and looking forward to the next one.
Thanks, Hex. Appreciate it. Keep the head down. Fix those bugs. I know you guys are working hard on those. Yeah. What else? What else, Bunzi? Anything else on the radar recently? I know we've been talking a lot about AMMs on Bitcoin as like the most recent breakthrough, for good reason, of course. But yeah, what else is going up in Degentopia?
Dude, Bitcoin's down bad, bro.
Well,
It's fuck.
I
It's 92K. It's over, dude. I'm
I I
stressing.
I actually have this. Have you heard of these ticker meters? So these ink blocks that show red and green depending on the day, and I've just been seeing red on the three most precious assets that I hold. The first one, of course, being BTC down 92.6, Sol down 227, Pups down 21 cents. Yeah, it's these things are pretty cool, by the way.
It was a pretty good bull run, though. I've made a lot of friends.
We had
Isn't
three.
it funny how quick sentiment can change since the election? We've if today closes red, there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's only 7 candles of red since the election. It's almost a month, and sentiment is we're going to zero, just
Dude, I
because we
heard it was
didn't
supposed to
crack
be up
100K on
only,
our
dude.
first try.
Yeah, I heard it was supposed to be up only. All green. What
I
are these
I
7 days, dude?
I
That's too
I,
many.
I don't think people recall how bull runs actually work. We do have red weeks in a bull run. We do have volatility in a bull run. If everything was just up only all the time, look, we're living in some sort of utopia, and I have bigger concerns as to the fiat collapse itself if we're just constantly going up only, because that means fiat is truly becoming worthless at that point.
No, leverage was at an all-time high just as of yesterday, and it basically all got wiped out in a span of a couple days. So we're back getting towards historic averages when it comes to this. So it's just healthy. You can't get too frothy in any environment, and that's where the market thought it's too easy for these shorts to make some money, to basically cascade and liquidate these people.
What were we at? So 3 weeks ago, Bitcoin was somewhere in the 60K range. Like, is it?
69,000 was, we closed the day before the election at 67.6.
That's right. Yeah. So a month ago, we, come on, bull run hasn't even started. Centralized exchanges haven't even started the KOL program. CFI hasn't even kicked off. I'm seeing no trading referral links for Kraken, Coinbase, you name it. I don't know what's happening, but this does not feel like a bull run type of environment. We haven't even had alt season. We had XRP basically being the top performing asset in alts.
Dude, what are you talking about? We had some guy going like a crime spree on Pumped Up Fun for 24 hours.
Man, yeah, that I don't even know if I would call that bull market activities though. I think
Dude, that is like raging bull. That is like you go to the bull ring in Mexico and you put Pump Fun video in the middle, and then the guy with the red flag. And dude, I don't know. What are your thoughts? Like, is this mass adoption? Is this what we've been working towards? Just people streaming, like cutting off their dick?
I think it
Because
just
like,
shows the reality in humanity itself. We're all just maybe a little bit more messed up than we thought we were. And people are hungry to be making any sort of dollars. You look at that dev or that guy that was like posting up that he basically aped into some pump fund coin. It was worth like $4,000, and then he's yeah, but there's no liquidity for it. Meme coins are a scam. And then the next video he posted was just like, all right, let's run it up together. This is our way of making it back. And then he ends up rugging somebody. And then the next video after that, someone finds him and beats him up for some other token. And if this is what the future of crypto really looks like, I do have some concerns.
not gonna lie, shit's pretty lit.
No, do you ever
But
remember that movie where it's like basically incentivized dare? You know, it's like it pops up on your phone, you had to do something crazy or stupid or funny, and then the money just gets deposited into your account. This is like that. Like people are doing OnlyFans porn on TikTok just to pump a token now because it was a compelling dare to do or something. Like this is just where we're at. It's
babe, I'm trading. I'm just trading. Just trading some. I'm trading the market. No, it is crazy. But to circle back, you mentioned the XRP thing. Like, not gonna lie, that one did catch me off guard. But it like 3x'd, and that's like cute, kind of. But I was surprised that the normies were able to get like a Google, like blockchain token to do that. But I
Well,
think
I believe Ripple still owns 55% of the XRP supply. So as long as Dev doesn't rug, it's gonna be up only, right?
yeah, that's a good amount. But no, I think what's cool about that is it will just teach some of these people that, oh, you can shitcoin. Because those are like the LARP investors that are like, XRP is a solid investment. It's yeah, that crab walk was pretty fun for 5 years, huh? And then, but once they shitcoin and they get a taste of it, I think they end up in some of these other environments that, you know, we can use them as exit liquidity. So the XRP thing was, I guess, cool, but
Yeah, I mean, I think Murad mentioned this before. It's like Bitcoin is a meme coin slash mission coin to overtake fiat. XRP is a meme coin for TradFi payments. Ethereum is a meme coin for smart contracts. Because ultimately, these things don't do very much as assets or like from a tech perspective. Like Bitcoin is a dinosaur in tech. Ethereum is a dinosaur in a chain. XRP is just useless in a lot of ways. Like the blockchain doesn't, it's gasless. So it's what? It's I
are
actually
people inscribing there or anything yet?
I don't know if we had any XRP scriptions,
Damn, let's
but they
go.
do have X assets, which are XRP NFTs, and then they do have tokens, which are primarily being used.
Dude, let's go run up some inscriptions on XRP, dude.
I got the right guy in the trenches. If you want to learn anything about the miners in XRP in general, I know this is a bit.
Weren't people inscribing things on everything? Didn't Solana have inscriptions for a bit?
Yeah, I think inscriptions broke nearly every chain outside of Bitcoin,
Let's
right?
go fuck up XRP, dude.
XRP scriptions. Yeah, you can probably figure something out to make that meta protocol work if they have some sort of like data availability component to it. You can probably write some inscriptions and make XRP 20 tokens or whatever you want to call them. But
say less.
Fresh is actually listening right here, so I don't want to be roasting XRP for like I can roast XRP as an asset, but I can't roast the fact that people are making pretty serious money over there. Yes, your assets are all backed in XRP, but hey, look, these meme coins are trading for tens of millions of dollars all of a sudden over the span of the last 42 days, where the inflection point really started. And kudos to them because the XRP army has been there's like XRP army and then there's XRP degens, and I think some of them on the XRP army side are gonna actually ape these meme coins. And I guess every chain deserves to have top meme coin at the end of the day. Like if the numbers are true, then every chain will have a meme coin ecosystem.
Someone, am I rugging?
No, I can hear you.
No, I was just everyone's busy inscribing on XRP. I think this is gonna be an interesting bounce back. It is like when ordinals or like runes bleed, everyone thinks it's over. But with that last run, I do think I saw a lot more volume than I expected in runes than I thought it had in it and it was pretty distributed to some degree from different tokens. So with this next run, I do think we can see some pretty interesting things happen. But XRP is now having shitters, is bullish. I want to go. Who's your guy, dude? Who's your XRP plug?
He's in the audience actually right now. Fresh. I don't know. I'm gonna invite him to speak because we had a pretty interesting call yesterday, and he's been basically trying to XRP me, and he can't XRP me. I just know too much, but hey, you can convince me that XRP meme coins are a brand new viable ecosystem. That's for sure.
Bro, I've learned a long time ago. I'm a maxi of nothing. If there's fucking money moving, I'm gonna buy or try to do something with it, because
Kind of makes sense with all the Bells coin shills. Fresh, what's up, buddy? What's up? Fresh is the number one XRP meme coin trader out there. I don't think he's the number one XRP bull, but he is an XRP degen in the trenches, and basically spotted this opportunity on the second day of its launch. Is that right, Fresh?
Yeah, day two got in and started picking up all these different projects really early on before everybody knew that it was happening. And it's pretty wild. It's euphoric. Today, it just went live on Dex Screener. The platform is firstledger.net. Check out all the top 20 charts and look at the market caps. Everything's very early over here. It's about 20 million market cap for the first token. And the alpha is Tabby. Check out Tabby for sure. But yeah, XRP meme coins is 42 days old, and enjoy.
For the first time ever, I actually was looking at it and I'm like, Bitcoin can actually learn from this XRP launchpad ecosystem. It's honestly this is why like you should play around with every single chain, every single ecosystem, because if you just follow what works, it starts to make its way back to the mother chain. And I think now we can finally have some fun back on the mother chain. And if we can learn from every other chain's mistakes, I don't think Bitcoin is going to ever die. In fact, it's probably going to be able to thrive much better. Let the experimentation happen in some of these places, but if we can bring it back to the other chain, but only bring back the stuff that people actually want, then I think that it's going to be a pretty interesting next few months, if I don't say so myself. I'm really looking forward to it. And then Bunsey, like you brought up another part too, is these assets on chain, runes and ordinals, they don't necessarily go up exactly when Bitcoin price goes up. And I think a lot of people understand the mechanics. It's not until Bitcoin price starts to consolidate within a new all-time high range that the action starts to flow back to some of these, let's call it like riskier assets, and you start to have maybe like a micro alt season until maybe like a full-blown alt season. Is that your take as well? For me, PFPs and meme coins with communities, they're just tokenized vibes, and as long as the vibes on chain are good, these things tend to thrive. And as long as people on the chain itself are finding ways to make more sats, they're going to start spending their sats within the digital economy. And if your digital economy, all it does is make people bleed out sats, then you basically have a negative economy on chain, which is not necessarily the most ideal outcome.
Yeah, I think we saw a market correction is like you were making less money holding some assets while Bitcoin was ripping. So like that's why we saw a bit of like correction and people relocating assets, because Bitcoin was like outperforming a lot of these different assets, and that's why we saw ordinals take a hit, because people would rather just have their money sit in sats while the market's doing its thing. But I do agree that like when people make the bag and they're feeling themselves and they think they can keep trading the market, they will rotate it into native assets, like some of these things. And long term, those things will trade pretty well. But it's been interesting watching Bitcoin do what it did over this last month in comparison to just holding some of these assets in runes or ordinals, and just seeing how potentially that could affect the next run. I've been thinking and looking at it like a little bit differently, because Bitcoin's been moving sideways for generally the most part during a lot of the activity around like the 50 to 60K range, but now with it like jumping digits quickly, I don't know. It's an interesting part I've been looking at. But I guess to answer your question, yeah, people are always going to rotate into native Bitcoin assets when they make a bag, in my opinion. And there's
Shouldn't that have already happened on Solana? I mean, I'm playing devil's advocate here. Like DeGods.
what assets are on, dude, that shit's like assets on Solana are, it's still plastic to me. The fungibles are great, but like maybe if this gaming thing works out and there's some assets, but I don't know, this is just my opinion. And if you're going to hold a collectible, I think Bitcoin makes sense. Holding something on Solana, I don't know. I don't own any NFTs on Solana though, but so that's like a very biased opinion. But are there assets that perform well on Solana? You don't really need to, because look at how much volume it's doing. Like that chain is literally printing. Like all the validators, you look at what Jito's been able to pull off with its MEV, and like how many transactions are happening. Like you don't need collections, NFT collections, in my opinion. And that's where Bitcoin separates and has the true collectible kind of mindset and feel, where I don't know, but maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there has been some collections running on Solana that I'm unaware of, but nothing sustainable that I've been able to like, that's got on my radar.
Yeah, fair enough. I think you're right. Like assets on Bitcoin, whether it be ordinals or runes, they certainly feel a little bit more real, particularly because they use Bitcoin as like the data storage layer to everything. And so that's permanent. You know that the art necessarily, assuming that they inscribe the art on chain, at least the art isn't going to change over time, or the IPFS links are not going to break. So that part definitely feels more real. And then from the community aspect to it, I think we're just much more honest over here. We're not trying to create utility games, staking functionalities, points systems, tech around PFP collections, much like a lot of people on Solana and even Ethereum tried to do, because it just showed us that none of this really works. And NFTs as a business model were great when there was creator fees. We that easily was stripped away as as a byproduct of not necessarily being the design of the token standard themselves, which meant parties like Blur basically effectively tokenized every sort of PFP collection and made it, I guess, ruin the creator market in a lot of ways. But on Bitcoin, we're just saying, hey, it's art, it's a community, it's a fair launch, it's just art. If communities form around it, great, it's mimetic. If not, then so be it. Like it's just part of the game that we learn to accept. Yeah, same thing with.
And I think the back to the core thesis of like why it took off is like it takes conviction to even put something on chain. Like on Solana, you can make 10,000 or million tokens for $2, and that is not sustainable when people have skin in the game. And that's why I really liked when collections would take the risk and inscribe the whole collection up front, would show that, hey, this team has conviction in what they're doing. They've already paid the miners to get this data on chain. Some of these differentiators were pretty interesting and still are. But yeah, I don't know. It's with Bitcoin like just ripping so much, it's going to be really cool to get some more DeFi primitives going around and being able to safely stake some of these assets and do some other really cool things. So I think with what Arch has been releasing and data providers like Maestro, Best in Slot, and Metashrew, and all these people, like Infra is starting to stand up. And yeah, like I do think the next wave of people building tools and not reinventing the wheel, like what we're doing with like Laser Eyes, is like you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can just install and start building an app with all the wallets right out of the gate. And I think these types of steps really unlock the next round of builders, because you can't have just 3 teams building things. You need really healthy competition. You need a lot of things pushing teams to keep moving. And I think that's right on the horizon, because with Bitcoin ripping, like a lot of people are looking at it again very seriously, because the way it performed in comparison to even something like Solana or Ethereum, it was still so powerful. So
Who else also agrees with this thesis? ChatGPT. I had this like conversation with this AI bot that everyone knows and loves. Basically, my best friend on the internet. ChatGPT 4 is the name, and I asked it, "What do you think are the next big crypto bubbles of euphoria?" And one of the key points that it spit out was Bitcoin DeFi enabled through on-chain smart contracts. And then the other part is just it was talking about ordinals and runes, bringing users to Bitcoin and creating an ecosystem around it. And the last point that it made are specific Bitcoin meme coins could be an area of interest. So look, if ChatGPT agrees, I think that's fate right there. So what the future could look like, and if we're gonna get a proper Bitcoin-based bull run here, like I just have a hard time thinking that we're not gonna have a euphoric moment for both ordinals and Bitcoin meme coins, or Bitcoin NFTs and Bitcoin meme coins. I still like ordinals more than Bitcoin NFTs, but okay, Bitcoin NFTs and Bitcoin meme coins, depending on how you want the normies to perceive it. I think they need to understand what the heck this is. And I think if we just call it Bitcoin meme coins and Bitcoin NFTs, um, probably a better understanding of what this is. Or I don't know, like I'm still on the fence of classifying these things, because maybe we do need to abstract the branding a little bit, because NFTs maybe have had a little bit too much of a negative stigma towards them, whereas like meme coins have a general positive stigma towards them. So maybe we call it ordinals and Bitcoin meme coins. But yeah, Bonzi, let's just open up the floor to any other questions, and then wrap up the show in the next couple of minutes. OMWTFYB, licensed IP.
it's pronounced a little.
What's up, Bunzy? What's up, Farmer? I go by On My Way. Thanks for having me up. I appreciate y'all. I got two or three things to say. One, XRP inscription sounds crazy. Thanks for bringing that up fresh. Greatly appreciate that. That's crazy. Is there going to be a pump fund on Bitcoin anytime soon? I heard rumblings through the grapevine. I'm just curious, like a dedicated platform besides Luminex or Magic Eden minting runes.
I think someone from the pups community just needs to make this thing called pups.moon, and have all of these LPs denominated in pups as the pairing, and then everything goes up indefinitely. Short
I mean,
answer,
like
yes.
runes is already a pump fun. It's like, dude, if it goes into the mempool and it, gets enough people uh etching it or minting it, then it starts trading. But I think if someone packages it and puts a nice bow on it, I think it could make some noise on the timeline.
Yeah, but the problem goes back to what Speed Racer was talking about earlier, which is in a high fee UTXO minting type of environment, it doesn't exactly favor the liquidity of the pool or the rune itself. It goes to nothing, goes to the miners. It gets paid to rug. Farmer said it pretty himself. Like, everyone's rugging themselves. So why build a fungible token launch pad around something that's so expensive? What Pump Fund ultimately did that was so unique was that they had this pseudo centralized laddering up mechanism where you can buy and you can sell without there being a liquidity pool required. And then once it reached that escape velocity and there's enough critical interest among users wanting to buy in, then you make the pool on chain. So if that type of and in Pump Fund, how many of the tokens actually make it to that critical velocity or the 69,000 market cap where they make a pool on Radium? Like, I would say less than 1%. So if that was the same type of dynamic on Bitcoin using runes, everybody would be wrecked, and that's liquidity that would not find their way into actual good quality meme coins that do have the critical interest and velocity to make it to centralized exchanges and create more, solid liquidity foundations on these dexes. So I think until someone creates something that's a little bit more fungible, a little bit more low fee and frictionless, that's what's needed here. And I am aware of a few teams that are building this.
Yeah, but that kind of like rune tickers, there's only so many, which is interesting. And like, I do think friction is a feature, not a bug. But, you know, it's definitely, I can see it being done, no doubt. But it just goes back to the original ordinal thesis of supporting the miners and like why people were bullish on that in the first place. Is this is a security layer addition to Bitcoin as well. But how would that work? Say, where would the tokens would just be traded similar right off the jump, and then once it reaches a bonding curve, it then hits an AMM?
Sorry, y'all. I don't know how this works. I'm just asking the questions to see if it's possible. But thank you for answering that so eloquently, Matt. Appreciate it.
Bitcoin's gonna be sick until Arch mainnet go live. We got a nice little incentivized testnet to play around with. I urge everyone to at least give Saturn a shot. You're probably gonna be rewarded with some sort of points, bonuses. Who knows what exactly Matt and the Arch team really have up their sleeves, but it never hurts to play around with a cool piece of tech. This is like one of the first times on Bitcoin where you could be basically paid to use a testnet. We've seen it with like Fractal. They rewarded people with FB tokens at airdrop. So that's the alpha. Matt can't say anything on this because he's a part of the team. I'm not employed by Arch. I have nothing to do with Arch. I just really like Arch. I guess I'm an investor into Arch. Despite that, I would have supported Arch anyways because I think it's just bringing what we really needed on Bitcoin 5 years ago. It's really like what Stacks intended to become as like the smart contract platform on top of Bitcoin. But I think in a lot of ways, Matt and the Arch team have done it in a much more eloquent way that interfaces and is interoperable with all of the things that started Bitcoin 2.0 or 3.0 now, like this Bitcoin season. So looking forward to it, Matt. Get Amin some Coca-Cola, get him some cigarettes, make sure he doesn't sleep, make sure the bugs are fixed, and make sure we see mainnet soon. On that note, let's wrap up the show, Bunsey. I don't know if you have some outro music, otherwise we'll end it here.
No, no tunage, but no, yeah, this is exciting times. A lot of cool stuff being built. Excited to continue messing around. But yeah, that's it from me, bud.
All right, guys. We're not going to have to do a show on Thursday because it's the U.S. Thanksgiving. So tune in next week, next Tuesday and Thursday. Catch you guys then. Till then, it's over until we are so back. That's the alpha. Take care.